This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
This week's episode of Two Bad Hombres is brought to you by DC Sports at Lakeside Mall in Sterling Heights. It is your source for authentic sports memorabilia and terrific autograph signing sessions in Detroit and beyond. To find out more about DC Sports today, please follow DC Sports on Twitter at DC Sports Detroit. And also, make sure to check out DC Sports' terrific website at DetroitCitySports.com.
If you found $100 on the street, would you pick it up or keep walking? Of course you take the money. So why do you keep picking winners and not betting on them? That's why I go to MyBookie. It's fast, it's easy, and they pay you when you win. Let's face it, guys, where you're betting is just as important as who you're betting on. So do the smart thing this football season. If you're going to bet with MyBookie. Did you know you could bet on games after kickoff? If by the second half it looks like you're going to lose your bet, you can always just take the other side at MyBookie. Join now and MyBookie will double your first deposit. Use promo code Detroit100 to activate the offer. That's promo code DETROIT100. Visit mybookie.ag today. You play, you win, you get paid.
Fellas, I want to tell you about a product that can improve your performance in the bedroom. And what better way to improve the quality of your life than to please the woman of your dreams? Blue Chew brings you the first chewable with the same FDA-approved active ingredients as Viagra and Cialis, so you know they work. Blue Chew is the fast and easy solution for any man looking to enhance their performance and step up their game. You don't have to be one of those guys that finishes quickly, or you don't have to be one of those guys that, at the end of the day, regrets not having a great sex life. Blue Chew is prescribed online and shipped straight to your door in a discreet package, so no in-person doctor's visit, no waiting in the pharmacy, and best of all, no more awkwardness. They're made in the USA, and since Blue Chew prepares and ships direct, they're cheaper than a pharmacy. Right now, we've got a special deal for our listeners. Visit BlueChew.com and get your first shipment free when you use our special promo code Detroit. All you got to do is pay the $5 shipping and handling fee. Again, that's BlueChew.com. Promo code Detroit to try it free. Blue Chew is the better, cheaper, faster choice, and we thank them for sponsoring the podcast.
I was trying to get it how I live. I want them dead presidents. I want to pull up, head spin, get fly. I got 6 jobs. I don't get it. I don't get it.
And we are still not tired on this week's episode of Two Bad Hombres. I am your host, Vito Geronimo Churco, and I am riding solo on this week's episode of the pod. As my featured guest on this week's episode is Steve Graus, the owner of the aforementioned DC Sports with its fine location at Lakeside Mall in Sterling Heights. Steve and I talk plenty about his best experiences with athletes as the owner of DC Sports, about how he came to found DC Sports, about when it opened its doors at Lakeside Mall for the very first time. All of that and more with Steve Graus in just a short minute or two. But first, my hot topic, you could say, of the day that I want to discuss with all of you is one which involves DeMarcus Lawrence of the Dallas Cowboys. And there has been this controversy that has sprouted from him not signing the towel of an individual, and when I say an individual, a young kid wearing a Saquon Barkley jersey. Now, if you didn't know, Saquon Barkley is the star running back for the New York Giants and the rival New York Giants of the Dallas Cowboys in the NFC East division. So, with that being said, DeMarcus Lawrence took it upon himself to tell this young Giants fan to get a new jersey. And he didn't like the fact that the kid was wearing a Giants jersey, not a Cowboys jersey. Now, he also commented after the fact at a charity event that he was hosting. And what he said regarding his snubbing of the fan is that, open quotes here, "The kid will be okay, trust me. If not, I'll write a public apology for hurting his feelings. Other than that, hopefully he gets a DeMarcus Lawrence jersey for Christmas." Now, that's how, to him, it was fine. That's how he, thought about it. Well, for me, still not a good enough reason from DeMarcus to say I'm not going to sign, even though he was wearing the jersey of a rival and an opponent that you play twice a season from your own division, once again in the NFC East division. But how I would have handled it is that because the kid was a young fan, even though I didn't like that he was wearing the rival team's jersey, I would have taken the approach that I'm not going to sign your jersey, kid, but I'll sign something else for you. So still sign your autograph for the kid because he came up to you. And he's just a kid. It's not an adult who's 30, 40, or 50 years old and is coming up to you with the Saquon Barkley jersey and expecting you to sign your autograph for him or for her. At that point, I get it, and I get it when athletes deal with older people, with adults, and especially those that are in their 40s and 50s and even older than that those people, you might not want to accommodate their autograph requests as much as you would and do for a young individual, a young boy or girl. But in this case, it was a young boy. And once again, even though he was wearing a Giants jersey, I would have taken it upon myself to actually sign my autograph for this kid. Now, would I have signed his jersey? Or if that was the only thing I could have signed, well, I wouldn't have signed his jersey, but I would have brought up to him once again that I'll sign anything else for you, kid. So if you have a piece of paper, a card, and anything else, I would have signed for that kid in that case. But DeMarcus Lawrence chose not to sign his autograph for this kid. It took some heat, and I think he took some heat rightfully so. But at the same time, too, I'll just say this. You're going to have athletes that don't sign for you. So, unfortunately, this was the case with DeMarcus Lawrence with this kid in the situation that I'm talking about right now. But still, at the end of the day, once again, how I would have handled it is I would have signed something else for the kid other than the jersey with my autograph. And with all of that being said, a jersey is part of authentic sports memorabilia. And this week, once again, I had the chance to speak with the owner of DC Sports, which is located and has a terrific location at Lakeside Mall in Sterling Heights. And actually, this Saturday is featuring Jake Rogers and Travis Demerit, two Tigers rookies who are going into the store for an autograph signing. So the store features tons of autograph signings. It even has a private one without the fans being included, but you can submit items and orders by September 22nd to get them signed by Pistons legend, the Worm himself, Dennis Rodman. So DC Sports features tons of awesome autograph signings with so many athletes across so many different sports. And Steve Graus, the owner of DC Sports, took the time to talk to me about how these signings are set up, about who some of the coolest guys and athletes, are to deal with when it comes to autograph signings. All of that and more with Steve Graus right now. I am here with Steve Graus, the owner of DC Sports at Lakeside Mall in Sterling Heights. Thanks for doing this, and how are you doing today?
Vito, I'm doing really good, except the Tigers are losing again.
They're losing again. 4-2 right now to the Yankees, maybe the best team in the American League and in all of baseball. But that's a topic for another day as we're focusing on your business here. DC Sports at Lakeside Mall in Sterling Heights once again. Now, when did you open the doors for this specific location of yours?
Well, we opened up in 1997 in the mall. Actually, 1996, the Christmas 96. So this will be our 32nd year in the mall, I think.
Look at that. Very impressive. Now, where did the idea, come from for you to open up this business?
Actually, it was a couple De La Salle friends of mine. We had an idea to open up a business selling sports memorabilia and cards at the times. And we got into autographs, and we did trade shows for a few years. And then in 1991, I convinced them to open a store in Centerline, 10 Mile in Sherwood. And all of a sudden, the wings were hot, and we got on the map for autographs. And that has become our niche in our sports memorabilia business.
So what is your pitch to those out there to sell DC Sports to the masses? What do you guys at DC Sports bring to the table?
Well, I think we bring authentic autographs, 30 to 40 autographers come in through our store a year. And if you're looking for a collectible that's signed, whether it be Steve Eisman or a young rookie that's now on the Red Wing, Joey Veleno, is that we're the location for that. And if you want to build your collection, whether it be a big collection, a wide-ranging collection of, hey, I've got to have an item from every one of the 84 Tigers, or, hey, I'm just sticking with the stars of that team, the Morrises, the Trammels, the Gibson, we're your store. And we're not only for your store for building that collection, we're also now your store for possibly selling that collection. So we've kind of went from total retail to now retail and selling collections via the internet.
Did you ever think it would reach the level that it has?
No, again, when we started out, I thought it was a nice hobby, but now it's become a big business. And I think what really surprised me, like in 2012, when we were doing a signing with Miguel Cabrera, and the amount of money that was generated for both Miguel and our store for doing a signing when he won the Triple Crown, I had never envisioned us ever doing something like that.
Your best sport to do autograph signings for? Is there one in particular that really stands out that has been the best seller in the past and has brought the most customers in for signings?
That's I think you got to narrow it down between baseball and hockey. I think that's the two. We're hockey town, but also the Tigers. There's a lot of history there. So I really think the Tigers, when they were in their heyday, and those guys are a lot of fun too. But hockey, longer season, it's usually during Christmas time when people are looking for gifts. And I think hockey players are a little bit from humble beginnings, so a little more friendlier with and engaging with the public. And I think that translates to a better experience when people come in and buy an autograph or they see him at a game. So we sell a lot of hockey jerseys and a lot of hockey memorabilia.
So I was going to bring up and, ask of you to give me the best athletes to deal with. I can sense it's the hockey players typically then, huh?
Well, Gordie Howe was arguably the best player on the ice, and he was probably the best person off the ice. A long-standing relationship with these guys. Nicholas Cronwell is great. Dylan Larkin's been great. I can't remember a bad experience with a Red Wing player. In baseball, we've done Al Kaline, done Justin Verlander when he was younger. Miguel. The Miguel you see on the field for many years here in Detroit is the same Miguel that you saw at a signing. He was engaging with the first person that came to the line, and same thing with the last person in the line. And I don't know if you've seen his autograph. He has one of the best autographs in sports. So
you bring in all these top-notch athletes for the Pistons as well, the Lions, Wings, and Tigers, as you noted, and big names such as Miguel Cabrera. How do you make it happen? How do you bring in these athletes, Steve? And I have to believe you've garnered a lot of relationships and sustained them over the years, too, as well, to bring in these athletes.
Yeah, I think that's you've hit the nail on the head. It's starting out from humble beginnings and networking to get in the door with a certain agency or a certain player, and then you work those relationships to where now when a player comes to Detroit, we will get an email or a call. Hey, so-and-so players we represent, would you like to have a signing with them? And that's really helped us out a lot. And I think also the players talk within the clubhouse to us, it's might not think trivial, but that's what they talk about. It's, hey, I heard you did a signing. How was it? And that, your reputation speaks for yourself. And I don't want to forget before I move on, Barry Sanders is a great guy, and we've got him coming up again in October. But I talk about the experience with the people. He's very engaging, and arguably, we'll find out this year, one of the top 5 players of all time in the NFL. So they're doing that top 100. So he's a great guy.
So how much do you have to work with the teams, though, to bring in these athletes? Like Jake Rogers and Travis Demerit on Saturday coming here to sign at DC Sports Lakeside Mall. So how do how much do you work with the teams as well to bring those athletes in while they're in season still?
Well, the teams are sometimes a contact, but quite honestly, the teams have their own retail business. They have their own memorabilia business. So the teams are maybe a relationship builder, but it's through the agents and through networking with other organizations like ourselves that might have an exclusive right on a player. They'll come to us to host an event for them.
So the best athletes that you've dealt with over the years, you already noted Miguel, you noted Barry Sanders. Tell me some stories then about those guys, when you met them for the first time and then dealt with them for their specific autograph signings.
Well, I'm a fan first. That's how I got into this. Sports memorabilia. I was a fan in Detroit that loved retail, and that's how I got into it. And when you meet them the first time, there's always that you're checking them out and they're checking you out as far as the relationship and that credibility. And I think over the time, we did signings with Ted Lindsay 4 times a year. For probably 6 to 8 years, and people thought he was on our payroll. He was here that often. So you build those relationships up, and I think that the guys that you really enjoy dealing with and they sell versus is who you continue to deal with. And some people that don't treat the fans the way you would like is the people that you don't bring back.
And you have a private signing for Dennis Rodman, the Worm, coming up, who's a unique personality. I know he can be engaging, but maybe not at times as well. And had this great ESPN 30 for 30 doc that just came out about him. Now, this private signing, you want the items to come in by September 22nd, I believe. Is that what you said?
Yep.
So, now, how did that come to be, getting this private signing with Dennis Rodman?
Well, again, his agent's been working with us for many years to try to do a public signing with Dennis, and the timing just never fit to our schedule or his schedule. And I just felt that this time he was coming into town. They reached out to us to do a private signing. We could always use some inventory on him because, again, he's back top of mind. The older Pistons, the bad boys, are hot again. So, we wanted to get some inventory, and that's why we reached out to them and said, yeah, we'll do it. And so now the thing about it is it's a private signing, so the fans don't get to meet him, but the same quality of autograph. And we take in the items, we get them signed, and then bring them back and ship them over to people pick them up from our store.
So you brought up the Bad Boy Pistons. They won the back-to-back championships in 89 and 90, and I never got the chance to witness them in person, but this beloved team, back-to-back champs once again. What are some of your best memories from watching the Bad Boy Pistons, and specifically Dennis Rodman as well?
Well, I think the best memory from that, and that's when we were just starting out doing the shows, and so we didn't have the retail side. But I think my best memory from them is just how tough they were. It was a different brand of basketball than you see today. Is you just couldn't jack up a three, or you were contested, and I think that was fit the Detroit image. And, Detroit versus everybody and the bad boys. I think that all plays into great sports stories. And you hear the stories and you watch about them as how they molded that team. And that was taking on the Tigers. The Pistons identity. And it was a lot like the city. But where I had the Tigers in my mind, I just watched the 84 thing from this year that they had on Fox Sports Detroit last night. First time I saw it. And I was really choked up about it because I lived a lot of that, but I didn't know a lot of behind the scenes thing. And I have a better appreciation for that team. And if you watched it, Sparky Anderson was probably the genius of all time to take in all those personalities like Gibson and Whitaker and Chet Lemon and mold those guys into arguably one of the best teams of all time.
The Roar of 84, the Bless You Boys, right? It started 35-5, and you have some of those 84 guys coming in. Talk about that upcoming event.
Well, we have we have a great relationship with the 68 guys, and now some of them have passed on, and the 84 guys are, they just had the 35th anniversary this year at Comerica. A lot of people are collecting the team merchandise. So we've brought in Trammell, Gibby. In fact, we're probably doing Gibson in December. But I think we had an opportunity to do Jack Morris, and we haven't done Lance Parrish in a while, and now we're filling in with Dan Petrie and Dave Rosema, so collectors can get 4 players at one time from that 84 team, which is pretty exciting.
Beautiful. Do you have a favorite 84 player?
I think Alan Trammell.
Okay, now why is that for you?
Well, I've met him many times, and now, off business and during business, and he's just a regular guy. He is just like one of us that you will meet, and he's down to earth, and you would not think he's a Hall of Famer by his attitude and the way and that's why I think he's so popular around the Midwest and definitely in Detroit, is because he has that persona about himself, is that he's on the same level you. He's extraordinarily talented, and he was, as we see, the heart of that team.
Calm demeanor, humble and good to talk to as well.
Yeah. And he has this knack about him when you meet him, kind of like Sparky Anderson did, that he took over the room. and he made you feel like you were the most important person in that room, even though there were 400 people in there. And I had that opportunity with Sparky. And I think Tram's that same way, is that when he talks to you, he's not looking behind you. He's looking at you. And then you feel that you have that connection with him. And I think when people meet him at our signings, they feel that same way.
You can relate to him.
Yeah.
And you said you could relate to Sparky.
Absolutely.
So you met Sparky then.
Oh, yeah.
Your favorite story or stories from having Sparky around?
Well, I could say this about Sparky is that he was very jovial. You know, he was a jokester. You know, you see by 84, he don't want to walk you with Gibby. And he always had that about him. From the signings, he was so genuine. And what we kind of commented is that people would come up and they're in his presence and they're in awe, and they would have an 84 ball, and Sparky be the last guy that he needed on that ball. So they would hand him the ball, he would take it, and he kind of roll it back to him or bounce it back to him. And, you know, to him, it was, and the people were kind of, wait, you know, so I think that's just how he was. And he was a jokester. He would see the following year, and he would remember something from the prior year, and he'd tell you a joke about it. And that was pretty special.
So I saw comparisons between Sparky and Jim Leland, who resurrected the Tigers franchise, along with the assistance of Dave Dombrowski, really, right, leading the way in the front office. But that was the first winning baseball I had ever seen. It was in 2006 with Leland taking over as manager. Now, how about for you? Similarities between Sparky and Jim Leland that you saw. And did you have the chance to have Jim Leland in for a signing?
We had never really done him in signing, but I've met him at events. And again, I think one thing about he helped out a Holy Redeemer event I was at, and people were very in awe of him also. And he generously donated his time, and he was joking. Someone said that, hey, Jim's got to leave early tonight. He can't take any more questions because he's got a big game tomorrow. And Mr. Leland got on the microphone and said, well, I'm going to the casino. I don't know what you're talking about. And I think that just broke the ice. But I think the similarities between those guys knew what buttons to push. A lot of these teams are very talented, but the difference is the manager that can get the best out of those players. And we talked about a little bit earlier, those personalities. And I think Leland played a little bit of, hey, we're in 2006. No one's expecting us to do anything. And look, we're now in the World Series. And I think the layoff hurt them, but then we were back again in 12. So I think he was a great manager.
Should have won at least once. He made 2 World Series trips. Yeah. And you won 1 game between those 2 appearances. Yeah. Not good enough.
Well, especially with the pitching we had. As we see in baseball is pitching. And we had some great starters. Our 4th starter could have been the number 2 starter on some teams. So I really think that's you never know when you're getting back to that position. So you can't take it for granted. And I think that's what you see in Verlander a little bit now that he's with the Astros. Is, hey, maybe, I'm not saying he took it for granted, but he was young when we first got there in 2006 and even 12. Well, now it's, hey, I don't know when I'm going to get back to this World Series again. I better win this one.
Yeah, 3 no-hitters, a World Series championship now for him, but without wearing a Tigers uniform.
Right.
And now they're in an abysmal state, right? It's disastrous. The team's rebuilding hugely. I mean, what's the hope for this team? Is there hope, and do you have any sense of hope with these Tigers moving forward as a franchise?
Well, I do know a lot of their talent is, as we've seen in the minor leagues, all right? And I've got to have faith that in a couple years, 2021.
I'm hoping by 2021. I would love for that to happen for all of us here as Tigers fans.
We'll see some of them next year, hopefully. But I think in 21 is the time to evaluate what they have, and if they do have a plethora of starting pitching, to possibly trade some of those assets to get some hitters. Because I do believe they need some hitters, and I don't see a lot of them coming through in the minors. Now, again, they may make a free agent acquisition or 2 once they're close, but they haven't tipped their hand to that yet. So that's why I got to have hope. And you're a lot younger than I am. So hopefully in your lifetime, they'll get back to it.
Chris Ilitch, open up the checkbook, right? Sign some guys, because it looks like you're right. They need some position players for sure.
Yeah, and I think, again, as you see with some of these teams, it's only 2 or 3 guys that you pick up at the, either before the season or at the trading deadline. We go back to the 84 team when they picked up, Darrell Evans, and they picked up Willie Hernandez. Where would the Tigers been without those 2 players? They probably would have won the World Series in 84.
So those are the glory days of the Tigers. One of your favorite sports memories, I bet, as a Detroit pro sports fan, Detroit sports fan in general. But how about your all-time favorite Detroit sports memory? What is that for you, Steve?
I'm going to go with the closing of Tiger Stadium in '99.
Okay, now why is that? Were you there? You were there for that final game?
I was there. I bought season tickets that year just so I could be for that final game. And we enjoyed a lot of games before that. I just think seeing all those players march out from center field and take their position, and you were there with the place was packed. There was just a buzz in the stadium, and it's not something that you would ever see again. Versus being at the World Series in 6 and 12, where we might be there again. You knew that was the final day of Tiger Stadium, and I don't think it sunk when the game was over, and we won it in dramatic fashion, or fixed home run was dramatic. And I just think watching all those players that you had watched for all those years come on out for the last time was probably the best memory I'll ever have.
And
Baseball.
the ballpark was open for so long.
Yeah.
Now you see these fields that are closing down for 20 years. The Braves just got a new ballpark. Rangers are getting a new ballpark.
Right.
What do you think about that?
Well, I think, personally, we could have saved Tiger Stadium. I liked Comerica Park. Don't get me wrong. I think it's added to the rebuild of the downtown and that sports district or the district. But I think we could have done a little bit more to save Tiger Stadium. And because as you see in Fenway and Wrigley, you can't replace that. And those two cities have done that. Those two teams have invested in their stadium, and they're now thriving. Where we had some issues in Comerica Park, and we came back for a few years, and now we're back to there's plenty of issues there. I don't think there would have been that way if we would have stayed at Tiger Stadium, quite honestly.
And let's take the conversation to this now. The biggest athlete that you never had in for an autograph signing at the store, for a private signing, that you would like to have one day still.
It's a toughie. I'll go with Mike Tyson.
Okay, now why is that?
I don't know. He's just, he's one of those players that have been athletes that have been out there, and he's a tough autograph. People would like to get him, and he was the greatest at one time, in the boxing career. Isaiah Thomas on the Pistons side. I think those two probably. There's some others I'm probably missing, I'd like to have Mike Trout, quite honestly.
Oh, that'd be beautiful. Any of those big-name baseball players or
Pete
athletes
Alonso,
nowadays, right?
Again, just what he did with the 9/11 thing yesterday with his team is that's the kind of guys I'd like to have. That's the kind of guys I'd like to meet and have our fans meet. And I think that's what we've established at DC Sports is that we've made it where you come to meet these players and get an autograph, and that few second or minute connection is something that we're offering to people. I think that's special.
Upcoming cool events, and a special event that you have coming up is in honor of Chase Numata, who passed away, the Erie Seawolf that passed away tragically recently. You're doing something with that. Can you tell my listeners about that as well?
Well, yeah. Again, the Erie Seawolves, we've been down to a couple of Erie games because we do some signings with a couple players down there. Bo Burrows, a prospect we've been down there with. And so we bid on some auctions. We do sell items on auctions, and I bid as a collector on auctions. And just found out through a friend, Terry Dale, is that they have an auction for him. And I bid on some items in the first auction, and I said, hey, how about if we donate a Trammell signed jersey for the auction? I think it ends tomorrow. I don't know exactly when it ends, but yeah, you can get it through the Erie Seawolves, and every little bit we can help to help out a charitable group. We're involved here at DC Sports with over 80 charities and organizations that do events, and we're a part of that. And that's been kind of a side road business of ours that we like giving back.
Biggest thing at DC Sports that you would like to accomplish moving forward is what for you?
Well,
you have accomplished a lot of stuff, I can tell, Steve. You really have so far, right?
Well, yeah, but I think then to continue to raise the bar and try to provide experiences to people that we haven't been able to in the past. And as a store owner, to try just to improve in our operation and make it customer friendly, or the experience, and we sell apparel too, so they get the right piece of apparel, or if they're looking for a showcase for there. I think it's just being the best business I can be.
What's one thing that you would like people to know? Right now, we've already plugged a few things, but what's another thing or two that you would like people to know about coming up here at DC Sports?
Well, I mentioned auctions. We do a weekly auctions auctions.detroitcitysports.com is a monthly auction we do. We're actually selling people's collections. So people now, as they're getting a little older, downsizing, or maybe someone's passed on and they have memorabilia, we not only evaluate that, but we go in, get it authenticated through Beckett Authentication, a third party, and then we market those items to other people, other collectors that weren't able to get maybe a baseball signed by Norm Cash or something by Charlie Gehringer or Ted Williams or even Mickey Mantle. And that's something we've done in the last 2 years, and I think that's been a very good, again, not a game changer, but something we've done to enhance the DC sports experience.
So you offer something for new fans that are young like me. There's something for me, but also those people maybe a little bit older or have the nostalgia, right, feel when it comes to their sports fandom.
Yeah, you're definitely right, is that the different generation is collecting. I think the younger generation is a more, hey, I'm collecting this player, like we talk about a Trout or an Alonso or Pat Mahomes, versus, hey, I'm going to be a Lion fan and I'm going to collect a lot of things from the Lions, or a Tiger fan and I'm going to buy every player on the team. I think the younger people want the stars, versus I believe the older people are still buying the memories, so to speak, and reflect back on their memories. Now, if we turn these teams around, that changes the buying habits.
Right? Be a game changer right there.
Absolutely.
Now, you brought up cards and baseball cards, and I collected those growing up, but it seems like that's almost a lost art. Do you think that's true with the younger people? I mean, I guess my peers and younger, and I'll say it, I'm 26, but the millennials like myself and younger than me, do you feel like that has become a lost art a little bit, Steve?
Yeah, I think it has, because I believe there's so much other things to do at your age than, when I was 26, hey, I was collecting cards and, collecting the sets or buying sets for relatives, versus, hey, if I want a set, I'll go buy it now. Versus, hey, I'm going to do that building of a set and things like that. Now, cards, I believe graded cards and older cards are coming back. In fact, in our next auction, I believe we're going to have a Michael Jordan rookie card, and that's over $2,000. And I wish I was smart enough to buy that Fleer 86 set back then.
That's a cool item right there.
It is a cool
And you've
item.
had a ton of cool items, and I haven't asked you yet. What's the coolest item, or some of the coolest items, that you've ever had here in the store?
Well, I think a lot of the stuff we've had is one-of-a-kind items that some of these collectors have had. And that's what I like about this auction business, is that it brings items from a collector that knew what he was doing or knew they were doing, to people that say, wow, that's a cool item, I'm going to zero in on that. I look at it as that the last collection, this one collection we're currently selling, is the person had a Ty Cobb 1907 postcard.
Oh, my God.
That no one knew he had.
Yeah, so one of a kind right there once again.
We found it in a binder. We sent it out for grading, and they encased it in a slab, as we call it. And that card went for over $5,000. And it was not, I'm not sitting laying there in collection, but it was not highly known of at that time. And I just think team signed items, if you can get a team signed item from, let's say we talked about the 84, and it's signed by everyone, including Dwight Lowry and Aurelio Lopez, those really have some value. Yeah, so I really think those are a couple of the neater items that we've had, but we've had some pretty special items.
The next Detroit pro sports team that's going to win a championship is whom? Making you think again a little bit.
Michigan State?
So not U of M or MSU. Because I know
right.
that might be more likely one of those two teams right there.
I thought the Lions a year or so ago with Bob Quinn involved. I'm going to go with Steve Eisman and the Red Wings.
Okay. Hey, speaking of the Lions, does Matt Patricia last? And Bob Quinn, do they last past this season, you think? Because this is a big season, I think, for the two of them.
They keep calling timeouts. No.
After week one. I mean, a tie in week one when you were up 24-6, I mean, that was disappointing, wasn't it?
Yeah, I just think, again, as a collector or as a person that's lived in sports for all these years, is that the Lions, as we've seen in that first half, you looked at that team and said, wow, they are really made some moves, and this team is going to contend for a playoff spot. And then the last half, you wondered, it's the same old Lions. And I hate to keep bringing up that, but you can't fault people when they bring that up. And I'm going to the game on Sunday, and hopefully we'll come.
Good luck, right?
Hopefully come with a win. But the Lions always find a way to not win. And I think they found a new way on Sunday.
Hopefully not more of the same old Lions, but hey, if history repeats itself, I guess we will see more of that, including in week 2.
Yeah, I think the difference in the Lions, and I think they've got the talent, is in the coaching. And I think if you see it, the last 3 coaches we've had are defensive coordinators, very good at their job, a defensive coordinator. But I think to take the step up to a head coach in the NFL is truly special. Most of these good coordinators can't make that step, and they fall back to being a coordinator, like a Jim Schwartz or a Caldwell. But to be a guy like a Belichick or some of these head coaches, and there's very few of them that are outstanding because that's why they switch them over. It's a really special person.
Cut from a different cloth. And I think to run this business as effectively as you have, too, you have to be cut from a different cloth.
Well, I'm surrounding myself with good people, too, which we haven't talked about. But I've had, again, a lot of my employees have been with us for over 10 years, and the key people have. And I think that's it. We talk about relationships. Am I the best boss? Probably not. I continue to make mistakes. So I'm thinking, say about these signings, that every one of them is a learning experience, and we learn from each one of them. But I think that if without my staff, it would have been just a hobby and something I would have probably stayed in purchasing somewhere. But I love what I do.
Fun hobby, really, and making a living from it, right? You're having fun while you're making a living.
Yes. I'm not driving a Corvette, but I'm making a living.
So I'll leave you with this. What's one unique thing about you, Steve, that many people do not know?
Well, I think many people don't. We run a good store, and a lot of it's because of people, but I don't think everybody knows how much we do as an organization to help out or other charities and organizations profit. We use our expertise not by just giving them items, but by joining their committees and coaching them on how to make more money for their organization or their charity. I said we're involved with 80 of them, and I wish I could give them all a little more time or write them a check. But I think that's the one thing I like people to know is that it's I get such a great pleasure out of giving back to these groups and I think that permeates through my crew, and I hope people know that about us.
Steve, I think it's a beautiful thing what you do for charities, and thanks for all the time here on this week's episode of Two Bad Hombres. It's been a pleasure speaking with you.
Thank you, sir.
And that was Steve Graus, the owner of DC Sports, lending his knowledge about the sports memorabilia business and about how he lands so many big-name athletes to sign autographs at his store. So that was a very fun conversation. It was a pleasure of mine speaking with him. And Steve, by the way, got to give him a shout-out because of this. He is a fellow De La Salle Collegiate High School alum. So always, when a guy is an alum of my alma mater, that is De La Salle, got to give him time anyways. And through Steve, DC Sports has been a fine sponsor of Two Bad Hombres and of the Detroit Sports Podcast Network for a long time now. And I hope that remains the case for a much longer time moving forward as well. So once again, a pleasure. It was mine speaking with Steve Graus on this week's episode of Two Bad Hombres. And remember, you can follow Two Bad Hombres on Twitter at Two Bad Hombres. Follow the Detroit Sports Podcast Network on Twitter at Detroit Podcast. And also check out our fine website at DetroitSportsPodcast.com. And guys, that is all she wrote for this week's episode of Two Bad Hombres. Have a great week coming up, and I'll talk to you again next week with my co-host, John Charles Macaroon, back in the fray. Adios.
I was trying to get it how I live. I want them dead presidents. I want to pull up, head spin.